Murder a chinky is something that racist people would say. People that are probably quite thick in the head, but you know, there are some people, and I know what they mean, it's not meant in a derogatory sense, is they would like a Chinese takeaway, and they're probably missing their favourite Chinese takeaway, although a lot of them are doing online. Why bother ordering something that's going to be quite expensive when you can quite as easily make it at home yourself? And in the comfort of your own home, you can have a beer, such as a fierce maple pancake, which I must say is bloody lovely. Right, so I'm going to make a pork dish. So there's the dish, and there's the pork. So first thing you need to do is make a marinade for your pork. So first thing you need is...
Oh, that's lovely.
It is a slightly rounded spoonful of corn flour, or if you live in North America, cornstarch. It's a terrible accent. And you're going to need, I've got brown sugar, a nice heap dessert spoon of demerara sugar. I've got a quarter of a cup here, and I'm only going to half fill it because soy sauce is quite strong. So an eighth of a cup of dark soy sauce. We are using gluten free because Kate has special needs. And for flavour, not for cooking, I'm going to use two dessert spoons of sesame oil. Now, just to counteract the richness of that, 1 dessert spoon of vinegar. We've got apple cider vinegar with the mother, unpasteurised, raw and oak matured, like a fine wine. And a good grinding of premium chili flakes. Now, if you had or could get hold of Szechuan pepper, you could crack some of that in here. So we add Szechuan pepper, so crushed it in a mortar and pestle. Added about 8 Szechuan pepper seeds. I'm going to add a star anise. I'm not going to break that up because I'm going to take it out when the time is right. This is just for marinating, so it'll get you a slight anise flavour, but it won't overpower the dish. So you want to stir this until your sugar is dissolved, and obviously your corn flour is mixed in. And I've got some rice wine. Although this is more of a Chinese dish, this is Japanese sake, but rice wine, sake, whatever. No sake comments. Right, so my pork that I have kept whole goes in the dish. Now you need a non-metallic dish for this because the salt that's in your soy will eat away at the metal. So I'm going to get tidied up and come back and prepare my vegetables. Now, using the magic of my absolutely wonderful editing skills, I've got all this ready just like that. So I've got 1 onion, red, peeled. I've got an aubergine, emoji, 1 carrot peeled, a few mushrooms cut in quarters, a green pepper that I've cut thirds again. So I've got 4 cloves of garlic, and I've got a large piece of ginger. So got 2 of the cloves of garlic. I'm going to cut them in half lengthways. They're rather chunky. I'm going to just put them in with this marinade. Right, and the other 2 I'm just going to put in this bowl. Now when you're cutting garlic for stir fry, you either leave it in big chunks like this so it's not going to burn, or you can grate it really finely for going into marinades or sauces. Same with ginger, a small piece into sticks and then into fine dice, the same size as your garlic, and that can go in with the pork. The onion, cut it in half, then into quarters, and because I like it fairly chunky, take the stalk out. Do the same for the other piece. Now, the aubergine, I'm going to cut this into fairly large chunks again. So I'm just going to cut them into quarters. And the reason for this is I'm going to fry these first and separately, so put that to one side, put that away. The carrot, for a slightly different texture, you can use your peeler. You just peel thin ribbons of carrot. So once you've got that all peeled into strips, obviously it's a bit long, you could just put them in like this if you wanted to, but it makes eating it a bit awkward, so pile it all up in your hand. So find a half a point, just cut it in half. And if you've room in your bowl, put it in the bowl. If you don't, just put it to one side. So next thing you need to do is your rice. I have got 1 cup of rice in this sieve. Just going to give it a quick rinse. So I don't normally rinse rice, but just for this, it's jasmine rice, it's slightly different, so and I'm going to use one and a half cups of water, a little bit of salt, and just for a bit of extra flavour, I'm going to use kucharik. Never use that stuff. Any of you have heard of kucharik? It's a popular Polish seasoning, but it's got monosodium glutamate in it, so you should stay well clear of anything with monosodium glutamate in it if you can. So give that rice a stir with a fork, and we're going to put the rice on to a high heat to start with, and then once it comes to the boil, put it on to simmer, and we'll get our wok on to as high a heat as you possibly can. We'll come back. So once your rice comes to the boil, turn it down very low and put your wok on as high as possible. So likely going to have to put the fan on because this is going to be quite smoky, so if you come in and shut the door as well. And the first thing I'm going to cook is the aubergine. So vegetable oil, when you're doing stir fries, despite what even 25 million Michelin starred chef Gordon Ramsay would say, you don't use olive oil when you're cooking at high temperature, you destroy the flavour. So just plain old veggie oil, a reasonable amount. You could use coconut oil, something that's going to cook really high, and because it's aubergine, I want to cook it at a really high heat so it doesn't absorb all the oil, and I'm going to place it gently into the wok. Right, so once you've got colour on one side of the aubergine, you've got to flip them all over and cook that for another 2-3 minutes. So once your aubergine is cooked on all sides, put it to one side of your wok. If you've got a sloped wok, still put it onto one side. Add a small amount more of oil. You shouldn't really add more oil when you're doing stir fry, but I'm going to. So add your onions. If a mushroom gets in there, it doesn't matter. Add your onions, get them in, a wee sprinkle of salt, break them up. Before you start stirring them about, let them get a bit of colour on one side. So just move them about gently. And then the next thing you want to do is add the chopped garlic followed by your peppers. So once that's been for a wee while, you give it a good stir. Now my rice is cooked. I've got the heat off. I'm leaving the lid on, and it's nice and sticky rice. Right, so you want to stir fry these vegetables until your onions start to get a bit of a colour, or they're starting to go translucent. And then we'll add the mushrooms. And we'll cook them until they've started to look a bit more cooked. So you just keep moving them about. As you can see, the mushrooms are nearly cooked the way I want them. So we're just going to add the carrots in. And they're going to get a minute, maybe at the most. Right, so after a minute, the carrots have still got a bit of a crunch to them. And remove all this stuff from the pan and into that bowl. Of course, I'm saying to put the veggies into that bowl, but you won't have that bowl at home because I've got it here in my hand. Anyway, once your wok's empty, give it a clean with a bit of paper or a cloth. Get your tongs, grab your pork. Pork if you're from odd places like Angus. Angus, oddly enough, if you remove one of the letters, is anus, which I suppose is the arsehole of nowhere. So, get your two pork chops together, flat side down and into your wok. And you want to hold that there together until the fat is nice and crispy. Once your fat's been coloured, fry the pork on either side for 2 minutes. At this point, remove the star anise and be prepared to chop your pork. So once you've cooked the pork on either side for a couple of minutes, I'm going to rest it. Now this isn't an orthodox stir fry, I appreciate that. I'm going to leave the pan on a high heat. I'm going to check our rice. I've got my bowls in the oven there. Now, for a stir fry, I don't want fluffy rice. I want it to be sticky. You know, you can't eat fluffy rice with chopsticks, and that rice is just perfect. So put that to one side. Now, get your sauce. Give it a good stir so that the corn flour gets a chance to be lifted up. Give it a stir, you'll see it getting thick instantly. Move your pork chops to the board, sorry. Get your veggies back in the pan. Give them a stir. If you want, you can chop up your pork and add it back into there. I'm not going to do that just so we get even portion. That's your stir fry pretty much made. Oh yeah, I'm going to add some seeds to this. So if I had, I would add sesame seeds, but I don't. I've got sunflower seeds, which seeds are seeds. Although sperm is a seed, technically, but I wouldn't put sperm in there like curdle. Rolls out of the oven. Of course, so that's an oven, but if you're from Angus, I suppose it's an oven, just like pork.
No.
How do you like them apples? So, portion of rice. And your stir-fried veg. Of course, if you're a weirdo or you're on some kind of kinky fetish that you don't eat animals, you could leave the pork out. So all we've got next is to chop the pork. Chop the pork up. And just a wee drizzle in the sesame oil over the top. You'll see the pork's slightly undercooked, which is fine because it's been marinating in salt. i.e. soy sauce. And this has been sitting here, so this is the Negroni that I tanned a bottle of the other week. Anyway, pork stir fry, sticky rice. Happy crappy cooking. So now that we're watching a 30-year-old classic film such as Ghost, what did you think of the stir fry? It's totally irrelevant to the film.
It's out of this world.
Fantastic. Happy crappy cooking.